Welcome to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. We believe life is about how we react. Hey, thanks for tuning in today. This is episode 150 and the end of season 5. I'm Sean, and I'm thankful that you are listening right now. Kyle is here somewhere. Today, we've been given the suggestion to list the characteristics that we admire or wish for in a significant other, and I think Kyle is still trying to figure out more than just one. So he might need an extra second here.
Yeah, this was a tough one for me. I really had to think about it, and I think it was hard to figure out. Like, all right, what are the things that I want in a significant other, and what are the things that I just discovered that I don't want because of past relationships, you know?
Yeah. Or things you realize you don't want as you work through a list, right? The list helps bring things into perspective.
Totally.
Well, like I said, this is a suggestion from a friend of ours and an avid listener. He said he would like to hear our top 5 characteristics in a significant other. So, Kyle, I'm going to let you either go first or share the first one. It's up to you.
So my number one thing is someone who's outgoing. Just somebody who's up for whatever, and no plans are needed. Just down for whatever to hang out and, like, adventure.
Spontaneity or spontaneous? Is that?
Yeah, maybe that's part of it, yeah.
Okay.
It also has to do with, like, I don't know, meeting new people, just like always down to like get it into a
try something
new situation, or try something new. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
The next one is a little bit of it seems like it might be contradictory to my last one, but someone who's a planner. Someone who, because I'm not good at making...
straight up just said no plans. Somebody that's just go with the flow. Like, what?
I'm not good at making plans. And so if somebody else is in charge of the plans, like, that's awesome. Like, there could be plans, but there also might not be at all. So, does this make sense?
Fair. So you want somebody to help make up for that deficit in your life.
Yes, totally. Isn't that partly what these traits are? Yeah.
That's kind of how we're, opposites attract, right?
The next thing is I would love somebody who is down for cycling. Like, that is the one thing that I love to do no matter what. All the time, go for a bike ride. So that's a good one. Shared experiences, right? The next thing is somebody who holds family in a high regard, like a family person. Okay. That's big in my life. Yeah. And then
that's a big one.
Number 5 is somebody who is interested in making an impact with their life. It's easy to go through life and just like get on the treadmill and just go, right? But somebody who's focused on making an impact with their life, with the things that are dealt to them, and really, using what they've got to make the most.
Sure. Yeah, certainly important for everybody we're close with, right? That ambitious part of life. A question for you that I didn't warn you on. You've just listed 5 characteristics. Let's say you meet your person, like that person is in your life, but that person doesn't possess one of those characteristics. Which one are you willing to compromise?
That's a good question. I'm certainly willing to compromise on the cycling thing. I mean, yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
But I'm sure we could find more common ground in experiences that we like to share.
Sure. Okay. That's good. I'm proud of you for being okay with giving that one up. There are just some people that just don't want to ride or don't want to be out for hours, and they might want to go around the block once or twice, but not 30 or 40 miles.
That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing yours. I've got my list of 5. Number 1, gotta have a sense of humor. Somebody that is okay with laughing at themselves and laughing at me and laughing at life in general. They don't have to be a comedian. I would hope that they have a fairly flexible sense of humor. My next one is communication. I want my person to be somewhat decent, or actually, it's not even a matter of being good at communicating, just somebody that is committed to communicating, whether it's making plans and then canceling them, or talking through issues or concerns or ideas. Whatever the case is, I don't like the silent treatment or the whatever kind of mentality. So if somebody that's okay with talking through whatever is in their head.
I like it.
A close one to that would be follow through. I want somebody that does what they say they're going to do, or avoids doing what they say they're not going to do. I think having that level of integrity and commitment to your own word is very important. Sort of in line with one of yours, my number 4 is ambitious and motivated. I want somebody that's eager to get out of bed and put the work in for whatever is important to them, whether that's a hobby or a career or school or, family or whatever it is. I'm hoping to meet somebody that isn't lazy, I guess.
Yeah, I think that, you could play off of that person and you can motivate each other.
Totally.
When somebody is ready to get at life, like, it just motivates you, and that kind of motivates them in turn, and it's kind of this circular thing, right?
Yeah, right. I think it's important. Just in relationships in general, right? Iron sharpens iron. So having that shared ambitious lifestyle or perspective is valuable. And number 5, I know this might be funny to some people, but I am dead serious, okay?
All right.
I need somebody to help me a tiny bit with this, but I also want to make sure they're not this. So number 5, not a hoarder.
All right. Wait, so you are?
No, I wouldn't, but you made fun of me for having a storage unit. So, several episodes ago. So I recognize that there's some things that I probably could part with, but it's a storage unit. My room's pretty neat and pretty organized, and most of the stuff I hang on to has some sort of sentimental value, right? But I'm not one to hang... especially whether I think about it at work or even just at home, really. If I look at something and I'm really honest with myself and I know, okay, I'm never going to wear that, or I'm never going to touch it or use it, I'm done with it. See you later. Yeah. So I want somebody that has that sort of same mentality.
Okay, Sean, though. Let's set the record straight. The only reason I gave you grief for having that extra storage unit was because you gave me crap for not throwing things away when that's not even true. So there we go. I just wanted to set that straight.
That's fair. I think that's fair. recognized even recently, I celebrated my birthday last week, and I did a little bit of shopping, mostly window shopping, but, walked around downtown Santa Cruz and checked out some cool spots. And there were a lot of things that I saw that I thought either looked cool, whether it was like a knick-knack around the house or a clothing item. And I just remember questioning myself, like, yeah, okay, it looks good right here on the hanger, but would I really wear it more than once? And if the answer is no, then it's like, okay, is it really worth $40 or $60? And is it really worth the space in my closet? So I was kind of proud of myself. I said no to a lot of things that at first glance I wanted.
Nice work. I'm proud of you too. Just
Thank you.
Sean, related to all these things, I've been thinking about this. As we grow up, we always picture ourselves with a significant other, right? Someone to share our lives with, and at some point or another, someone always tells you, oh, it'll come, don't worry. A significant other will come. And then, you grow up and you're like 4 years old and you still are not in a committed relationship. I don't know who would know about that, but that's a thing that could happen, I think.
I'm not sure either.
So I kind of wanted to relate that idea to the drug development process. So, Sean, how do you feel when somebody says, we are so close to a treatment and a cure for FA? What thoughts or expressions come to your mind?
Yeah, that's a good question. Ultimately, I value that kind of hopeful thinking and that motivation, but I really don't put a lot of stock into it. I'm not holding my breath. I do believe a lot of good progress is being made on all fronts, but I don't wake up or, look at my calendar thinking, okay, that day there's going to be a cure. Like, I don't know how to answer that. I think it's kind of stupid, but I think about our previous president, and when we were talking about COVID and vaccines, this joker kept saying, we're rounding the corner. We're rounding the corner. And I just, man, that was a really big corner. It was like a mountain we were rounding for months and months and months. Like, I don't know. Like, I want there to be a sense of realism. Right. But I also think it's valuable to have a little bit of hope or a tiny light at the end of the tunnel.
There's no answer, right? Because you do want to give that hope. And I'm thinking specifically with like communicating with people. I think this is something that we think about a whole lot all the time at Farah, trying to figure out what message to send as far as like, oh, we truly are getting there. Look at how far we've come. But not putting a date on it, that is the most dangerous thing. Like, 2 years. You always hear that, right? I've been hearing that for 25 years. Yeah. Oh, we're going to have a treatment in 2 years. Like, that's just not helpful, I don't think, for anyone. I do agree that it is helpful to give some hope and to show progress, but to put a date on anything is just not a good thing, I don't think.
Yeah, for sure. That can be risky, right? Because then how many people are let down and maybe led to some destructive thinking when they put all their chips in that basket or put all their hope in that one philosophy or idea or date, and it doesn't come to pass.
Yeah, and also there could easily be some mistrust, too, with the person who gave that date, right? Like, this person lied to me. Not really. Like, that's not exactly what happened, but I could see how somebody could feel that way, right?
Yeah, I wonder in what sectors of life is that pretty well accepted? Like, it's just a known fact. I think about construction. right? Construction jobs never get completed according to the calendar, or the schedule. Like, at least I've not heard of any stories where they were ahead of schedule or even on time, right?
Or budget. It's always twice
sure.
as long and add 30% or something, right?
Yeah. I think about that with ordering a wheelchair last year and that, being a bit of a cluster. And then, what about the renovations in your condo? Is that on schedule? And then, of course, when you relate that to medicine, I realize there are so many unknowns and a million different factors that play into it. It's not so much that one person was wrong or one person didn't really think about everything. It's that it's really impossible to think about every little thing. COVID's a great example. Jen Farmer talked about a couple different clinical trials that were supposed to start in March or April of 2020 and then just got put on pause for a year or 6 months or 8 months. And nobody would have saw that coming. But now the data for that trial is pushed back 12 to 18 months. So the whole process is going to, the domino effect of that comes into play.
Yeah, there's so many factors, including apparently a global pandemic.
But I think, Kyle, it makes me think about the difference between you and I, right? Not in a bad way, but you've committed your life to working towards a treatment and a cure. And a lot of our listeners have in their own disease state. A lot of our listeners have not. Like, not everything I do every day is in conjunction with moving the needle in the world of science or treatments and cures. So part of me wonders, like you said, you've been hearing this for 20 some odd years. You've been working with Farah now full time for 11 or 12 years. What happens if that treatment is not in your lifetime? What if it's another 30, 40, 50 years away?
That's a good question, and it's something that I've thought about a lot. I think that I'm fine with that. Partly, it's the hope of a treatment and a cure that keeps me going. And it's not even about the treatment or the cure. And I think I'm in a privileged place to be able to say that. I'm almost 40, and I'm able to talk and feed myself and, and do all these things, a lot of things that some people with FA cannot do. So I know I'm speaking from a privileged place, but I think that I don't need it for me. I've really come to that conclusion over time. And really, I think what I'm doing is working for the next generation. And I think that's a mentality that a lot of people take, is that, let's work as hard as we can, because even if it's not in time for me, it's going to be in time for the next person.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, how many of our parents or grandparents, save money or invest in such a manner that they're not going to reap the benefits of, but they do it for that next generation or for their grandchildren?
That's a really good point. That I love that, actually, because I'm thinking, somebody will create a college fund and relate that to research progress. Like, there's a knowledge bank. Like, there's tons of stuff that we didn't know about Friedreich's ataxia 10 years ago that is in that knowledge bank, so to speak, that we created, like, with all of our fundraising efforts. And so we're putting stuff in that bank for the next generation to be able to carry the torch and come to a conclusion.
For sure. I think about this podcast too. Let's say a cure isn't found in our lifetime or even treatment, but how many people, probably not many, but how many might go back 10, 15, 20 years from now and hear these conversations and glean some kind of inspiration or idea or motivation behind some of the work they might be able to do down the road.
Absolutely. I feel like that's a big part of life. Like one of the things that everyone wants, and there's been endless movies and books about it, is to live longer, right?
Right.
And how do we do that? We leave something behind to help ourselves, or at least our thoughts and ideas, live longer.
I'm reminded of a friend we've just met not too long ago. In fact, you might hear him in a future panel conversation that we are currently working on. But he was a pioneer in gene therapy. He was a patient who went through a trial. And one of the comments he made in relation to gene therapy and what that means for him and his family, he talked about the researchers and the clinical trials that were decades ago, that all those did, although they didn't cure his condition, that it didn't, come up with the answer, it certainly helped turn the page a little bit, and it helped lead to where we're at today. So all those patients that maybe didn't experience a treatment or a cure in their lifetime, they certainly have enabled the progression of cures and treatments. And just the way he put that, and that mentality of what I'm doing today as a trial participant or as an advocate or as whatever, a fundraiser, I'm helping set up the next generation or the next group to advance even further.
Yeah, man. Oh my gosh, that gives me chills. And I think it gives me a lot of motivation too, because I think of all the people who made so much progress in FA research, some of whom are not even here with us today, but their legacy lives on because of what they did, the progress they helped enable to get to this point where we have clinical trials and we're on the cusp, hopefully, of a treatment and a cure. See, there I go again, projecting into the future. But, but it's in the context of everything that's happened till now, and I really appreciate that.
Well, I think it's important to think about these things every now and then, and what I love about this platform with our listeners is we know there are so many people listening that either live with FA or have some other rare disease or up against some other challenge, and hopefully they're encouraged in the progression of their disease state, because like we know and we talked about with our development series, it can take decades and it can take billions of dollars before any answers are even hopeful. So I guess the ultimate encouragement is to keep going, right? To wake up and to keep putting your feet to the plow, because whether you or your kids experience it, we're all making a massive difference for the future of our disease states.
At a certain level, I or you or whoever, we care just as much about the next person as we do about our own experience. And I think that's something that keeps us all grounded and something that it really pushes the whole thing forward. Sean, I feel like this whole conversation kind of ended on gratitude, and I really love that, how it just kind of naturally went there. We're grateful for everything that happened in the past, all the people that made progress to get us where we are today. So let's let that lead us into our thank you notes. Every episode we end with some gratitude. I'll go first. My thank you note is to my coworkers. I've been riding my trike to work pretty frequently lately because the weather is finally good. And when I get to work, our office is on the second floor. And so I have to get in the elevator, but I can't quite fit by myself in my trike. So I have to have somebody like help and lift the back wheel and move it a little bit. So every time I get there, I just call whoever's in the office. I see whose car is in the parking lot. I call them and they come down right away, no questions asked, and help me into the elevator. And it works really well. So anyway, I just really appreciate that.
That's huge. Although I'm willing to bet it would be really bad PR if somebody was like, "No, I'm busy, Kyle. Do it yourself." Like, they work for their free drinks and tax their research. Like, part of me is thinking that having you involved on the staff, it helps keep things in perspective. So that's I'm not saying they have to. That's not at all. I know they're doing it out of the kindness of their heart, but it does make me laugh. Like, what if Felicia or even Jen was like, "No, I'm kind of busy right now."
Yeah. No, but it's also, I feel like it's the nature of how they do it. I never feel like I'm putting something on them to another thing to do. You know, it's like, oh yeah, sure. No problem.
Of course. I'm going to say thank you to my friends and family and loved ones. Last week I celebrated the big 4-0 and had lots of friends and family reach out via text or FaceTime or, video that was posted on the Two Disabled Dudes social, all that kind of stuff that just, makes me feel loved and reminds me of some of the work I do. So I appreciate all the birthday love. Thank you.
Absolutely. Happy birthday. And Sean, I can't pass up the opportunity to ask you how it feels to be 40.
I like the opportunity to be introspective, if you will, and to think about and evaluate where I've come from and what I want out of the next 30 or 40 years that are my life. So it's encouraging in the sense that it's kind of it's a great time in the calendar to maybe start over or do over in a couple of areas. But it's also challenging in the sense that I'm not done yet. There's still a lot of things that I want to accomplish and work towards. So
one of the things that you recognized in your thank you note was that you've got a lot of people on your team. So that is an encouragement there, and we're all glad that you're an old guy now.
Yeah, thank you. And I can't wait for you to be there. You have the luxury of enjoying about, 5 or 6 months before you're there?
October, yeah. Like 3 months, yeah.
This is it for Season 5. It's been a blast and probably one of my favorite seasons so far. We had a lot of fun in this season. The top 5, I had a blast with that. So thank you to all of our listeners, too, for continuing to be a part of the journey. Stay in touch with us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify or iTunes or iHeartRadio, or I'm gonna list them all. We're gonna be here. All the podcast platforms, we are there. We look forward to hanging out with you again in Season 6, not too far away. In the meantime, enjoy your summer and keep living with urgency.
Thank you for listening to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. This show is possible with your support. Visit twodisableddudes.com to donate.
Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app.